All right, today we're going to jump in a time machine. But we're not going to a battlefield or some big political summit. Nope, we're going back to a quiet revolution, one that was happening over phone lines and on these big, chunky computer monitors. We are heading back to 1989, a year that, believe it or not, was absolutely pivotal in the birth of online learning.
Just think about that for a second. An online course with no internet, no websites, no Zoom, none of it. How would you even start? It's so easy to take for granted the high-speed, media-rich world of online education we have today. But back then, the pioneers in this field were working with, well, basically text on a screen and the lovely screech of a dial-up modem. The question wasn't just how to teach online. It was whether you could even create a real human connection through a computer. So let's get into it. Our story really kicks off at this place called the NKI Electronic College in Norway. And at the center of it all is its leader, a guy named Morten Flate Paulsen. They were building this system called EKKO, which was basically a virtual school, and it became the testing ground for the very first experiments in how we learn online. So what did this virtual school actually look like at the very beginning of 1989? Well, it was small, it was definitely experimental, but you know what? It was growing.
By 1989, NKI had about 150 course enrollments spread across 6 different online courses. Now, I know what you're thinking. 150? That's tiny. But that number was the magic number. It was the critical mass they needed. It was finally enough students and enough courses to stop just sending out materials and start really experimenting with how to teach.
And this is where things get really, really cool. With a small but super dedicated group of students, the instructors at NKI just started innovating. They were making up teaching methods that literally no one had ever tried before in a digital space.
I mean, think about what they were doing. They were trying to recreate real-world classroom stuff, but online. So in one business course, students were role-playing as managers and union reps to solve a case. In a programming course, students could actually share, critique, and even run each other's code. They even built an early online quiz database. These weren't just message boards, you know? They were the very first true digital classrooms.
But here's the thing. What was really driving all this tech innovation? It turns out the motivation wasn't just about academics. For Morten Paulsen, it was something deeply, deeply personal.
This idea, this mission, really clicked for him after he read about an online course that had a blind teacher and students who were hearing impaired. And suddenly, bam, the potential of this technology became crystal clear. This wasn't just about making things more convenient. It was about connection. It was about accessibility for people who might otherwise be completely isolated.
And this whole mission, it came from his own family. He had a nickname for his grandfather, Moste. And as Moste got older, he slowly lost his hearing, and communicating became incredibly hard. Paulsen always thought about how different it could have been if tools like email or even text messages had existed back then. That frustration, that feeling of not being able to easily connect with someone you love, that became a really powerful driver for his work.
He held on to these vivid memories of his grandfather, you know, the handyman who could make bows and arrows out of old umbrellas, the fisherman puffing on his pipe in his little boat. And that's what's so amazing, right? This story just perfectly illustrates the human heart behind all the technology. The push to build these online systems was fueled by a really simple desire: to break down the barriers that keep us apart.
So this very personal mission was about to connect with something much, much bigger. The small experiments they were running in Norway were about to hit the international stage.
1989 was a huge year for travel and connection. Paulsen took his work on the EKKO Virtual School and presented it, first in the UK and then in Denmark. And what he discovered was incredible. He wasn't just sharing his ideas, he was realizing he was part of this growing global community of pioneers who were all thinking the same way. And get this, the scale of what was happening elsewhere was just mind-blowing. In the UK, he learned about the Open Universities course, which was using a system called COSI. They had enrolled 1,400 students, 1,400. This was all the proof he needed that online education could actually scale, that it had the potential to reach thousands of people. And right then, these scattered innovators started to become a real, recognized field. The publication of this book, Mindweave, was a huge moment. It brought together 31 of the most important thinkers in the space, including Paulsen, and basically became the first ever textbook for online distance education. And the recognition just kept on coming. At that conference in Copenhagen, Paulsen's presentation on the future of electronic education won the Best Presentation Award.
It was this huge, clear sign that the work they were doing in their small virtual school in Norway wasn't just innovative, it was world-leading.
Oh, and as if all of that wasn't enough, 1989 also had this amazing side project. To go along with NKI's course, Paulsen produced 6 TV shows for local cable. And then, in this moment of just pure guts, he cold-called Microsoft and somehow booked an interview with a young Bill Gates. He said it taught him a huge lesson. We can achieve much if we dare to ask. So true.
But here's the thing. All of this professional success, all of these incredible breakthroughs, it was all happening against a backdrop of huge global and personal change. 1989 was a year of incredible highs and also some really devastating lows.
I mean, look at the world stage. The entire year was defined by these two completely opposite events. First, the brutal tragedy of Tiananmen Square, where student protests were so violently suppressed. But then, just a few months later, the Berlin Wall falls, and this massive wave of hope and optimism just sweeps across Europe. It was truly a year of extremes.
And that theme of ups and downs was happening in Paulsen's personal life too. All the professional triumphs of that year were kind of shadowed by this private heartbreak. While his family felt the joy of pregnancy, they also had to go through the absolute devastation of 3 miscarriages. It was just a deeply painful experience that brought this current of sorrow to an otherwise breakthrough year.
So when you look back, 1989 really stands as this incredible testament to what you can build with simple tools and a powerful vision. They created connection, community, and real accessibility, with pretty much nothing more than text on a screen and a phone line. And that really leaves us with one big question to think about. With all the incredible power and technology we have at our fingertips today, what are we building? And is it living up to that same human-centered vision of those early pioneers?